Sie hören Sport und Musik.
Das Spiel ist aus! Deutschland ist Weltmeister!
In a world where fans fight over whether to call it football, or soccer, two German men defy the odds and call it Fußball. Bringing you inside the German-American football experience. And now, here are your hosts, the Schnitzel Boys.
Hello. I am Stefan Schnitzel. I am the sporting director of Violet AC.
Oh boy.
Whenever Hades, the mighty Haitian superstar. Hans Wolf. We didn't
Made
see
it.
you. Hans Wolf is here. We got our friends. Hans Wolf here. This is a live broadcast. We encourage people to come join us live so we can talk to them via the chat. It's interactive.
Yes, we love
I want to call it a fan party, but Bjorn, you were hesitant to call it a fan party. What constitutes a fan party? Should I give out Domino's?
I mean, I think there
coupons, or-
should be drinks. If we're gonna have
Yeah.
a party, we should be drinking.
Well, I got a
mean,
bottle of water. Does that?
I guess, yeah, I have this. This is not a party.
Yeah, we should get drunk. We've had podcasts
no one
before
wants to
where
see
we were
that.
one or two.
No
drinks on
one,
the wrong
no
side.
one wants to see that.
It didn't great.
Well, maybe we'll do one of those once we hit our subscriber goal. Then we're gonna do that.
Hans Wolf, it's
We're
like
gonna
I'm
raise a
stalking you
glass.
both. Oh, we're gonna raise a glass. A subscriber goal of 5 million subscribers
Exactly.
globally, worldwide. Much like Apple. You know how MLS had to go global and they signed a deal with Apple
That's
TV,
right.
the super global.
That's what we're
Well,
gonna
the
do.
Schnitzel boys, I signed a global deal. We signed a global deal with YouTube TV, not YouTube TV. We're a global broadcast on YouTube. You can get us anywhere.
That's right.
No blackouts. We're
No
fully
blackouts.
available.
Mhm.
No ads because we're just doing this. We're a fan-run fan cast. So
That's right.
no ads. Anyway, yeah, wat los, Jungs. In my very bad
Hans, this was his-
Schlammsprache.
Ja, was los, Jungs? Ja, was los, Jungs?
Oh, los Jungs, Köln. Not too far. Like you said, it's only 45 minutes from the Ruhrgebiet, right?
Yeah, but very culturally quite different.
How would you? Oh, I guess it's the wrong. I was gonna say it's a Germany hour. You know, like the whole thing with the Ruhrgebiet, it's the Rust Belt, like we talked about in the last hour. Don't
Yeah,
show your
it's
emotions.
It's
Pittsburgh, Detroit,
it's not.
Buffalo.
There's some emotions, but they're just they're not that complicated generally.
Right. The whole point of the Ruhrgebiet is go get coal to make steel, because steel builds cars, and that's what, or something like
And
that.
like,
That's the
yeah,
whole point of the Ruhrgebiet.
Hootie Fella is a man. He'll explain it. Anyway, this is the U.S.
However, Dusseldorf down the street is not like that.
No, Düsseldorf is faux fancy.
The exact opposite. They're like, you know what? We want to look good and feel good. And
Yeah,
care
we're
about how we
fancy.
look,
We've got boutiques.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And then what would Köln be? What would their role in that be? Do you think?
Well,
Hello.
Köln is actually all of these. These are all sort of smallish towns punching above their weight. Köln actually is pretty big.
Yeah.
And
They have that
Köln
beautiful
is a-
cathedral.
Köln
They
is
have
an
the-
actual, yeah, they have the dome, the Kölner Dome, the
Mm-hmm.
Gothic cathedral.
Mhm.
And there's a real significant art scene. There's a lot of galleries, art, there's theater, there's carnival is also big. The Düsseldorf, Köln, and Mainz are the sort of the carnival hotbeds of Germany. So that's a big thing for them.
And for American
Yeah, and they
fans,
have
it's
and
like
they kind of
Mardi
have their
Gras.
own. They have their own language. Kölsch is quite different. Like, and if people are really speaking it, it's not easy to understand. So it is kind of there's that divide. There was that band Bop in the 80s. I don't know if you remember Bop.
No.
Wolfgang Niedeken's Bop. They were huge, and they kept it real. And all their songs were in Kölsch, and they would have
I gotta go to the
translations. They would have translations in their they were sort of an outgrowth. There was that brief period. Oh my God, now you're getting me started here. If this is the
I love it,
America
man.
hour, we should not be talking about this now.
I
But
know.
there was in the early 80s, there was that like German new wave moment for like
Right.
a few years, very brief, but very influential. And certainly in my life, there was like a wave of very original German music that was kind of irreverent and unusual.
Is that where our outro comes from? Is that part
Yes,
of the same
that's where exactly
movement?
where
Yeah.
that comes from. The band Trio, the band Trio is a great one of the leading examples of that trend. But it was sort of short lived, and then it got taken over by I guess more German stereotypical kind of music that was very sort of earnest and
Papa.
politically no well, I mean that always existed, of course,
Right.
the Schlager, the easy listening, the kind of but in terms of the kind of popular rock pop rock stuff at the time, these more earnest kind of songwriter types took over, like Herbert Grönemeyer, the guy who wrote the Bochum song, and Bap, Wolfgang Niedecken's band, is an example of this. And they would sing in Kölsch and have translations on their records. They prided themselves in their very blue-collar live shows. They would go for 2.5 hours and concert. And I was a fan, I went to see them a few times.
So I Googled BAP, BAP,
yeah.
South Korean band, South Korean boy band formed in 2012. It's a different BAP.
Different. I don't think there's any, no relation.
No relation.
Anyway, that was Köln. Köln has real life to it. Köln is a real place.
I'm going to be there in October. I'm going to be in
cool.
Köln in October to visit some family because I got family everywhere. Anywho, I love reliving German culture in the 70s, 80s through you because I was totally foreign to it.
You're a lot younger, yeah.
Well, my German in me is if I would talk music, so I would go visit my grandparents. My grandparents are old, their grandparents' age. Rest in peace.
Not fans of Trio or Bap.
No, they would think that stuff's crazy, but they would listen to music all the time.
They would like Peter Alexander and
maybe
Roland Kaiser.
Maybe I have all this is so foreign to me. And there was this one song specifically that they played on the radio that they liked.
Oh,
and I'm dying to find it. All I can remember is there was like a shot. It was like "Pung Pung, hey hey, Speedy Gonzalez" or whatever. It was just like singing about Speedy Gonzalez, the cartoon, the racially didn't age well cartoon character,
somewhat racist.
Warner Brothers, yeah. And I'm just like, I listened to that song on the German radio that my grandparents loved, and I would love to know I wanted to hear that song. It's literally been in my brain for 30 years.
Oh, interesting.
It's been in my brain for 30 years. I love to find that song.
I don't think I'm familiar.
I don't think anybody's familiar. I might also be misremembering it. Like I said, it was from like 30 years ago.
That's amazing.
But no, my grandparents watched it. They listened to all the same very slow papa thing. Anywho, this is the USA Hour.
I know. Although this is always fun to talk about, and we are the Schnitzel boys. Anything Germany related is fair game at any point. We may just drop some random 80s trivia on you at any moment without warning.
80s nostalgia is in right now with Stranger Things. And
when is it not in? Has it ever not been in?
It's speaking of 80s nostalgia, Germany, Stranger Things. Do you watch Dark, Bjorn?
I watched the first season, and I was like, I watched the first season. I never watched the second season. Time travel makes my head hurt in fiction. Time travel in fiction, right. I don't generally enjoy. Other than there's some exceptions to this. Back to the Future, I guess, comes to mind. But
it's the perfect
in general, time travel, whether it's in fiction, like TV shows or comic books or whatever it is, I don't enjoy it generally.
But nonfiction, it's really cool.
Well, nonfiction doesn't exist.
Like an Interstellar or something like that.
Which is Interstellar. Fiction. Oh, right. Also, yeah, I didn't like that movie either. It's so complicated.
Me neither, but
Um,
Interstellar is the most accurate portrayal of how science views time travel. If that makes sense.
okay,
Because it's
yeah,
about the
whatever.
space-time continuum.
And you can
Anyway,
only go forward and not back. Yeah, I guess so.
something like that.
Yeah, I mean, Arrival. I'm just thinking about Arrival. I like that too. That had some aspect of not so much time travel, but sort of synchronicity. Anyway, it's not like there's some exceptions to this, but in general, yeah, I didn't. Also, I did not care for any of the I did not like any of the characters. I did not really feel like I wanted more of it.
Well, it's typical Germans. I watched, I think, 2 or 3 seasons of it, and then when the new season came out, I totally forgot everything that happened. And there is no recap. You have to kind of watch from the beginning again because it's so much and so intense. And I was just like, I can't do that again. So I quit it.
It's very
much. Like,
German. No, not user friendly.
Well, but also very German. That's like it's the German Stranger Things, except it's way less fun and way more intense and serious.
Right,
Like,
right. Very serious. Yeah,
seriousness, you know.
It did not.
If a guy,
I found it compelling. I found it captivating. It's not like but then I didn't want to see the second.
Yeah,
the Germans, as we're talking about German movies and TV shows, All Quiet on the Western Front did quite well at the Oscars yesterday.
I know. I didn't see it. I need to see
I
it.
haven't yet seen it. I read the book. The book was kind of
the book was
pretty much required reading in my day, but so I read it. I read it like many years ago.
Yeah. Well, I'm always hesitant. Germans in Hollywood don't have a great relationship. I'm always hesitant to watch movies with German topics because they never have Germans involved in the movies. So it's very, but now we live in a new era and it's finally we get to see some German actors playing German characters in movies.
Yeah. Certainly
it's still not amazing. It's like, it's there's still obviously bias to it. Like there is to everything, like every race and culture and so forth. And what's, I guess it's a total side topic again, but literally I was talking about the Oscars and All Quiet on the Western Front and German actors with someone last night. And I can think of French actors, right? Jean Reno, Gerard Depardieu, Marion Cotillard, a lot of French actors we know. German actors, fewer from between, but they're there, and including the Austrians like Christoph Waltz and Thomas Kretschmann and like Daniel Brühl.
Daniel Brühl, yeah.
Brühl. And then you think of Spanish actors, right? Javier Bardem,
Til Schweiger.
Yeah. Til Schweiger, German guy, right? And then British actors, of course, dime a dozen. However, I can't name one contemporary Italian actor. Can you?
Roberto Benigni doesn't count anymore.
No, but my friend and me, that's the first name you think of, Roberto Benigni. Name a second. In addition to Roberto Benigni, who's long retired. I think he died, isn't he? Is he still alive? I don't know if Roberto Benigni is still alive.
I don't know. I guess, yeah, I don't know. Maybe
Isn't that crazy? Like I could name 10 Spanish actors, French actors, German actors, British actors.
There used to be lots of them.
Italian actors.
There was Adriano Celentano. He was like the
Who's that?
He's another 80s. He was kind of a.
You know who these guys are? Bud Spencer and Terrence
Hill. Yeah, I thought they were German for all practical purposes, but they're Italian. Yeah.
And
they were definitely big
and like the fake name. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, but right now, I guess not. I guess
just a general Italian actors off the boat don't work in Hollywood, right? Something to think about. That's
interesting.
The other actress I could name.
Can't name anyone.
The other actress I could name is, I think, Valerie Gugino. I forgot her name, but she was a big actress.
Carla Gugino. Yeah.
Maybe is she the one?
She's not Italian, is she?
Yeah, we're talking about two different actresses. Okay. The one I'm talking about, I don't have to remember her name. She's from Hot Shots and Hot Shots Part Deux, and she was in a few movies in the late 80s, early 90s.
Wow,
she's like an Italian.
That's a long time ago.
She's in Escape from LA. She's in a few. She's the only. At the end of the day, everyone is from Switzerland. Yeah, true. 100% from our friend Hans Wolf. At the end of the day, everyone is from Switzerland.
Whoa. What just happened there?
I kicked my
dropped your stuff.
Dropped my stuff. Uh-oh. We're pros here.
Interesting that there are no Italian actors. I had not thought of this. All right.
Yeah, I just stumbled across it randomly, just thinking of, because you could think of actors, you could think of Dutch actors like Famke Jensen, Rutger Hauer. Like most.
I mean, that's also not exactly cutting edge either, I guess, at this point. Who are those people? Who are those people in Triangle of Sadness? I guess they weren't Italian either. They were all.
I'll have to look it up.
I
Anywho,
mean, isn't that anyway? All right.
You heard it here first. Is there a secret blacklist against Italian actors in Hollywood?
Oh.
Schnitzel Boys present that as a possibility. So we'll see.
We will never resolve. We will not. If you're going to wait for us to resolve this question, we will not. Spoiler alert, we will not. We got to talk about MLS.
We got to talk about. Do you want to talk about CONCACAF Champions League or MLS, or what do you want to U.S. soccer?
The real Champions League.
I mean, one thing to talk about when it comes to Champions League.
We can go at the way that Austin got killed.
3-0 in the Dominican Republic, and this Haitian team hasn't played a competitive match in a year. Did you know that, Bjorn? It's been 300 days since their last competitive match.
That own goal, the Austin own goal, I've probably watched 75 times.
Yeah. Who was it again? Abro Torek, who I think is a former Red Bull, right?
He just went for it. I mean, that was just crazy.
He slammed it. He's like, boom. It was like,
under no duress whatsoever. At that point, it was completely resolved, the situation.
On Reddit, that clip is played with the Benny Hill music, and it's so cool.
I mean, it's addictive. Once, even today, somebody had a GIF on Twitter. Like, once someone puts it up, you watch it 10 times.
It's such a strong shot. It's like a strong shot in the corner. So
confidently wrong. And then I watched a lot of the Alianza Philly. So yeah, Austin got it all wrong. The Alianza Philly. No, you were going to say something. I'm sorry.
Just one more to that. The return leg this week. Violet SC. They don't have the proper papers their team can't leave Haiti. So they had to hire a bunch of one-day former pros to sit on their bench. And I'm very curious for those people. You ever see the movie The Replacements? Great movie with Gene Hackman and Keanu Reeves plays on TBS constantly. Violet AC have their own little replacements going on. They can't bring their players out of the country, and they have to sign some local former pros to sit on their bench. That's CONCACAF, baby. Only in CONCACAF. Super League. It's
a wild tournament, but they have a 3-0 lead. So even with these ringers or subs, they should still be competitive. I mean, they have a little bit of wiggle room. Philly did a thing that Liga MX teams used to do, and they played their reserves on the road in Alianza, and they as somebody tweeted, they won that game 0-0 because I think that's perfect, right? You play your reserves, you don't take a break from the league, and you get a scoreless draw.
A lot of 0-0s. The team that went down to Tigres pulled that off.
Orlando. That's all. I think good result for them. Orlando got a 0-0 at Tigres.
LAFC.
They got a little lucky. They had a lot of good chances. LAFC crushed it in Costa Rica. Vancouver.
Going back to what Hans Wolf said, Austin FC also fielded a B squad, and it's like, now granted, their B squad should be strong enough to go to Dominican Republic and play a Haitian team that hasn't played in a year and not lose 3-0. But yeah, he underestimated them. But honestly, kind of what I talked about earlier, MLS clubs don't travel well. Like all their international games are in the U.S. MLS clubs don't travel well. Like with Seattle going to Morocco and losing
it's a serious culture shock, these CONCACAF road games. It's not like
even
going
in general.
to
They lost to Morocco too. They lose to Germany. Just American teams don't travel well, which is a sign of, I don't know what that's a sign of, but I don't love it. I wish they would travel better.
Like it.
Vancouver had a pretty good game against
Real España. Yeah,
España. Good on them.
That was at home, but still 5 zip. That's pretty good. So yeah, I mean, those games are just fun. I mean, even the Alianza Philly game. This guy comes off the bench. He has like a bit of a beer gut and a handlebar mustache, and he takes a direct free kick from 45 yards out, like completely shanks it into the stands. I'm like, what is not to love, man? This is it's just beautiful.
He's related to the owner, probably. Yeah, I love it. Was it last year, 2 years ago, in one of the preliminary CONCACAF rounds? The owner, who's like a 55-year-old, it was like in the Caribbean somewhere, played the game, right? He played the game. He's fat, and afterwards, very openly on TikTok and Twitter, he just handed the opposing team's players just wads of cash. He's like, "Thank you, there you go." He just gave everybody cash. But
what? This was not in CCL.
Yeah, yes, it was. You don't remember this?
No,
that was 100% was in CCL.
Oh,
no, it was a year or two ago, and it was a CCL preliminary game. This is like two Caribbean clubs fighting to get into the group stage, and 100% the owner played and then paid both teams wads of cash. So CONCACAF had to do an investigation, and I think the game was forfeit eventually. But, that's CONCACAF, baby. That's the Caribbean. That's Central America. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. It's the true Super League. Do you feel, the big question, do you feel Austin FC will turn it around and actually still go through, do you think? Or all these 45-year-olds?
It's going to be tough. They're gonna really be undermanned. Those the Haitian. I mean, it'll be interesting. I'll watch it. I will watch it, but I think I'm going to say no. I think Violette is gonna hold on.
Oh yeah, I hope they win the whole tournament. I'm all in for Violette. No
chance.
I'm also curious who these day contract former pros are sitting in the back. I want to know who are those.
I think they were some from FC Motown. 2 of them I saw on Twitter.
Oh
yeah, USL, and I think they anticipated this, so they added them to the squad ahead of time.
Oh, okay.
They were on the list, so they kind of knew this was going to happen. I don't know why can't they let
strategy, Bjorn?
But why can't teams just come? This happened last year to.
I don't know.
What is the problem? Why don't they can't get a visa to come?
Yeah,
because everybody's going to defect and not go back. Like, what is the concern here?
Good question. The U.S. visa office in general is. I think that's
crap. That is crap. Yeah. They should just be able to come and play the game.
Europe's easier.
It's not good.
Or do it at a neutral venue. Like if I'm Austin FC and that's the case, I'd agree to play it in Haiti and Dominican Republic twice or something. Because the Dominican Republic's already a neutral venue anyway. Because that's not Haiti where they played the game. So I don't know. Speaking of solutions and problems to solutions and figuring it out, this is what the USA Soccer Hour is all about. Firstly, I guess I should say this, that the last few months have not been good as far as coverage for the league. Because in addition to Grant Wall passing away, and I do feel he left a hole, Sam Stejskal is now stepping away from journalism and not covering soccer anymore.
He's going to work for Apple.
Oh, is that what's going on?
Yeah.
Did he announce it? But the Allocation Disorder podcast and The Athletic, all that's stopping. And it's a shame because in addition to Grant Wall, that was also the best coverage of the league. Now that's stopping too. So I just want to say we're here for you.
We're going to have to step up, Stefan. We're going to have to step up.
And we're going to have for the real questions. Like Grant Wall would ask this question. The real question. Should Minnesota United know how to clear snow off the field properly, do you think? Should they have some sort of a plan for that?
What happened? They had a bunch of snow on their field. I didn't know watch this game.
Yeah, it was covered in snow. And the game was It was a 1-1 game. Dante Van Zier got a few more minutes. And then the game was pretty blah. But it was a road draw for us and a home draw for Minnesota. But the Minnesota field, it was snowing. And they didn't clear the snow. They only cleared it in a few sections. They cleared it in the box. And they cleared a big patch in the Minnesota attacking half. But not the Red Bulls attacking half.
What?
It was a home sort of... You know how there's a term called hometown ref? Well, I guess there says a little bit of a hometown snow cleaning crew here. And after the game, Gerhard Struber complained. So did Adrian Heath in his defense. And said that he couldn't, he's pretty much saying the Red Bulls couldn't play the Red Bull way because of the stadium.
Oh, it was too chaotic. It was too chaotic for the Red Bulls, to unfold. To unfold their champagne soccer game.
However, yes, you need grass. You need Rasenballsport.
I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it now. This is not bad.
Not Schneeballsport. No, but it isn't terrible. It was fine, whatever. My big thing is everyone was saying you can't bring shovels to that field. They're saying because of the topsoil, because of the heat or whatever, that it's not good for short-term clearance.
I thought all relevant stadiums these days had like some kind of heated technology.
Do. That's why that's what we learned this weekend. The heated technology means you can't clean stadiums day of. Did you know that little wrinkle of the heated technology?
No, I did not. Okay.
That's all. Like Toronto FC, it was perfect because they had the whole day to clear their snow. Toronto FC's field was great. Minnesota, apparently,
because this was okay. I see.
If you use shovels, all the Minnesota people are like, you can't use shovels. You can't use shovels. And I'm like, why can't you use shovels? There's this video of this Austrian guy, this field cleaner in Austria for a soccer game. He put a rope on a ladder and he pulled his ladder behind him and he was just cleaning. It was so brilliant. And I was like, we need that kind of ingenuity here. Like, why doesn't Minnesota United have tools and mechanisms to clean the snow off their field, Bjorn?
Yeah, I mean, okay. No, they need to figure that out.
It's Minnesota. It's March. That's A. B, why is Minnesota playing games in March but not in July, and like Houston and Atlanta playing games on the road as opposed to at home? What I'm saying is certain clubs should probably push their home opener in April, and they should be able to. Can't scheduling figure that out, or am I wrong to suggest
this
that?
is fine? I'm looking at it. I'm looking at the highlights. This is fine. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to.
What's fine?
Not Matt. That to play on this surface, it's fine. It's mostly clear.
Not amazing. They only scored on set pieces. They only scored on set pieces. They can't score a game in play goal.
When NYCFC played in Orlando and they didn't stop the game during this torrential rainfall, where literally the ball would not advance. The ball would you pass the ball would drop into a puddle. This is certainly
delay that game too. I don't understand.
I mean, it's an outdoor sport. Like sometimes you just gotta deal with it. It's funny. It's funny to me. It's funny to me.
They should have cleared the snow better. It's just the thing is they're like, we can't clear the field. Just play. We can't clear. Get a ladder. Get some large have tools to clean the field. It's a professional soccer arena. Shouldn't they have tools to clear the field a little better?
And you all can only score on set pieces in the best of days anyway. This is not like
I'm talking to the wrong.
I'm finding it ironic that the agents of chaos that are the New York Red Bulls in terms of their approach to the game are complaining that this field is too rugged.
Yeah, it's controlled chaos, Bjorn, that we control. If there's a field covered in snow where only half the team gets an advantage. But if you look at the highlights, there's a huge open patch on their half. Like, we didn't have that open patch. I'm like, well, if they get a patch, don't we get a patch? It seems like
even I see a lot of green even in those sections that I guess the heated thing was doing its thing slowly over it. Yeah, okay. Anyway. I think
that was the Minnesota Rebels game, 1-1 each. We have Daniel Young. I have season tickets to supporters section for NYC this season.
Congratulations!
All right, so he's in. Are you doing the jumping and the singing and the yelling and the cheering?
There were a lot of. We had 20. Are we ready? Hans Wolf probably is waiting to talk about talk about our season home opener. Home opener. What? What's that?
I was gonna say we need to get more Red Bulls fans in the chat. We need to get go. We need to get a real fight going.
If you can find any, yeah. So,
all right. Hey, there was 18,000 announced tickets at our home opener. Okay,
we had 20.
I know half of them weren't there, but
we almost had 25,000 people. I was very impressed with the crowd. I was because usually, you know, especially in the early days of March, often it's too cold for people. But President Brad Sims on his interview tour, he President and CEO Brad Sims was on all the podcasts last week. He talked to all the fan media, and
So he
he
wasn't
promised. Well, not
all
with
of
that.
the
Well,
podcasts?
we're not an NYCFC. We're not branded as an
Oh,
NYCFC podcast.
you could have fooled me. You could
If
have fooled me.
well, I guess we need if we up the NYCFC content, maybe we'll get invited to these things. But
Yeah.
anyway, so he promised that he was going to get people to show up for the season home opener, and he didn't lie. It was 25,000, and it was a pretty good crowd. I don't know if Daniel. I am underneath the supporter section. I have this is really unique to Yankee Stadium that these seats even exist. They're underneath the bleachers, so I'm next to the supporters, but I have my numbered seats. And yeah, it was great. It was a great atmosphere.
How far are you from the smokestacks?
Like not far. They're on my maybe 50 feet away.
Like onto your right? Like if you look, the smokestacks are over there.
The smokestacks are on my left if I'm looking at the field. Yeah, I'm
So
behind the. I'm right behind the goal.
Oh, so you're not on the pitcher's mound side. You're on the goal. Okay.
No, I'm
Gotcha.
on the goal. I'm on the bleacher side. I'm underneath the. Yeah.
I think I know that. I used to go that. A friend of mine had season tickets. I think that's where his tickets were. I'd go there a lot. I think it's like you're on the right. You're behind the goal, but you're like a little bit right to the goal. Does that make sense?
I'm right behind the goal.
All right, never mind. Right behind the goal. I guess I was. Okay, so you're near Daniel Young. Must be right above you then, right?
Yeah, I mean the supporter section is all the bleachers is like sort of general admission. So that's like four. It's a lot of people, and it was packed, but not just there. The supporter section is usually relatively busy, but there were a lot of people all around the stadium, and yeah, it was really fun. It was great. We got there a little bit late. I had a birthday party to go to, so I just got there right before kickoff. But it was yeah, it was a great time. I mean, I miss it, man. It was just fun to be back. Like Yankee Stadium, we hadn't been in like over 6 months because of all the baseball being played there. Playoff game was in Citi Field and so on and so on. So it was just fun. It was great to be there, and our team looked good. It's still a transitional phase. It's still going to take more time, but Jimmy Sands got the start. Santi Rodriguez got the start. And we
and you
won
guys got an own goal, right?
We got our own goal. McVay was
this.
Yes, the reason is this the. I mean, he at least was under some threat. He needed to do something, but which is
the better own goal?
The Austin one is much more watchable. Yeah, although this one I've also watched about a dozen times actually. So I mean, I love them all, but it wasn't just that. We had more chances. Actually, the Miami goalie, Kelleher, is that his name? Kelleher, who I really wasn't really aware of, but Phil Neville was hyping him as a candidate for the national team, perhaps, and he was quite good.
Drake Callender.
Yes, Drake Callender,
25 from Sacramento.
Yeah, so he made some very good saves. It was weird because our subs were good this week, which was kind of strange because the team is not deep. We're still waiting for some additional arrivals probably, and so right now the bench is pretty thin, and we were sort of laughing because the subs were all pretty defensive subs. We brought in Andres Jason and took Talles out for Alfredo Morales. So it was like, okay, we're going to find out if we have a bus to park. But the subs, all of a sudden, Keaton Parks played very high up, and Andres Jason had a couple of chances. It could have easily been 2-3, 2-3-0. Late in the game, we had a bunch of chances. If not for Mr. Callender, who had a very good game. In the first half, Joseph Martinez, who got the start for Miami, had a couple of pretty scary chances that I think 2018 Joseph probably makes at least one of those, but he shanked one over the goal and fired the other one right at the keeper. But those were the only real scary moments. And in the second half, Miami was pretty quiet, even though I was very worried, like, because the 1-0 lead, I thought this had late equalizer written all over, but no, it all worked out. It was great.
No, it's a good result because Inter Miami is good. Like, they're a good team.
Have been good, yeah.
They're good. I think Fnevel's figuring it out. Just to catch up in the chat, going back to the more important topic of the Minnesota snow, Hans Wolf said it is odd that an area hammered in constant snow conditions on a regular would be overspread with proper equipment.
Minnesota, yeah.
I think I'm just thinking as a German engineer. I agree. Hans Wolf, amen, brother. It's like, again, there's that video online of that dude in Austria figuring it out with the ladder. It's like, be an engineer, be creative, figure out, have tools, figure out how to clear it. That's all I'm going to say about that. And then you guys talking about Daniel Young says, I'm right next to it. Right. All three of you are near the smokestacks. And then Hans Wolf said, what is that? Red Bull.
I think this means looking for a Red Bull fan, maybe.
Yeah. Oh well, they're there. 18,000 announced. You know what? The Red Bulls did their home opener, which was fun. They an hour or two before the game, they put the red carpet out. They had red carpets everywhere, and the fans, like the Oscars, could wait behind velvet rope as the whole team came by, and they high-fived everybody and signed. Like they got to meet the whole team on the way into the stadium.
Yeah, that's fun.
And it was a fun idea. I saw it on Twitter, and it was a cool thing. Hopefully they do that regularly. That might be a fun, regular tradition to do.
That's cool.
But anyway, so yeah, NYCFC gets a good home draw. So what's the record now? It's a loss, a draw, and a win?
A loss, a draw, a win. Yeah, okay. And DC United next. Fingers crossed. We're
you're heading in the right. So Hans Wolf, as a DC United and NYCFC fan, I mean, who do you root for in the NYCFC DC United game? Are you all NYCFC these days?
I mean, let's hear it. But Hans, if you're close to me, come say hi. I'm section 135. I'm right on the aisle, very easily accessible.
Maybe I should send over another T-shirt. Huh?
I brought my I have my pink-haired son with me sometimes.
Oh, he's got pink hair now?
So it's pretty. Yeah, he's currently got pink hair. Not hard to find.
Yeah. Nice.
So
that's an NYCFC game. The Darlings of MLS, St. Louis City FC, comeback kings, right? I'm loving following this.
Those guys
I haven't followed an expansion team this closely in a while. Like, I guess Atlanta was fun. I'm from North Carolina, so Charlotte I should have looked at Charlotte a little closer, but who knows what's going on in Charlotte ever? They just never had much excitement going on over there in general.
You are not a fan of North Carolina as a
person?
As a rule,
yeah.
You have some reservations towards.
Although in my older years, I might, I think it's. I have a very complicated relationship with the state of North Carolina. I went there to high school and college, and college years are never, for some aren't the best years. College years, I had a lot of good times, a lot of bad times as you get older. And also as a young man yearning to be free, the state of North Carolina, where I lived out in the middle of nowhere, didn't offer that for me. Did not offer that for me. So I left. And I went to the big city, the Big Apple. I took a bite out of that Big Apple. I went to New York City, where I fell in love with the New York Red Bulls, as literally they were the only team in the area.
At the time.
I made a choice. And I stick it to my guns. I fell in love. Anywho.
Well, Charlotte is struggling. They got really pretty comprehensively cleaned out by Atlanta in the early game. And I don't know what's going on there. It seems like their roster building approach seemed pretty chaotic last season, but they kind of did better than we thought. But it seems like maybe it's catching up with them a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah.
They moved Swiderski, who played really well. They just moved him around. They keep buying these other number 9s that don't seem to be all that good. So yeah, what's going on in Charlotte? We'll see.
What's going on? 100%. It's like the one key figure he had last year was Karol Swiderski, who scores up top. So in the offseason, don't sign replacements for him. That's the one thing you don't sign. You sign people to support him. Anyway, but I was going to say earlier, St. Louis City AC 2-1 win over Portland. Comeback Kings. They have all their wins from comebacks. So good on them. Joel Klaus did not get a gifted.
I guess that streak was over. Nobody just passed it to him this time.
The Klaus
or to them. I guess it was like, it's funny. But yeah, that was a pretty good. I have a soft spot for Eduard Löwen. You know, he played for Bochum. There was an interview with him about how he kind of couldn't quite find his footing. He got loaned out a lot. That's how he ended up in Bochum. He felt like the coaches didn't necessarily appreciate the way he plays, and he now really feels at home. Again, also St. Louis, we were also a little I was a little dubious about their roster approach. They spent a lot of money on Roman Bürki and found a lot of their players in the Bundesliga, but it seems like bringing these people early, seems like it has worked for them. That's what Löwen was saying in the interview, that he was there for 6 months and played a little bit on the USL team, but he felt like he got his stuff out of the way. He got settled in. Him and his wife found a place to live and figure out everything that comes with that. And so when the season started, he was ready to go. So that's an interesting approach, because you do see this, and it's always kind of a mystery as to how, you know, they're all pro soccer players. They come from a different country, and it takes a long time often for people to acclimate. The first season, like Thiago Martins is an example, who's really looked so solid for NYCFC. He's been probably their most consistent player in the first 3 games. He's been very good. And last year when he first arrived, and he's like a DP center back, right? Which you're expect a lot. And he looked like he hadn't played before. He scored own goals. He was like, and it was like, what is up with this guy? And it's just kind of, and Ronny Deila, to his credit, was kind of talking about it, was how, you know, it's hard. He's like, his wife hasn't come yet. They're trying to find a place to live. It's just hard. You're kind of doing it all at the same time. You're figuring out a new country. You know, where do you buy your milk, etc. And these are not the like, you know, gazillionaires who have staff. I mean, obviously these are not. We don't have to worry about them. They have financial resources, but it's not like, you know, it's not like Premier League players who just have employees, you know, dealing with everything. They're just, you know, you're just kind of
even not then. Sometimes I think about that a lot. By the way, the logistics of it. I get exhausted just thinking about having to move somewhere every year or 2 or 6 months. I'm just like, do you have to? There's actually been very little coverage on that side of things. I'd be curious to maybe learn a little more about what that's like. Like there was an article where like even big clubs, they don't even have, like 3 or 4 months in, the dude's still at the hotel and doesn't know the language. And like every now and then a club, my mom did this professionally. She was like a relocation specialist.
Okay.
For businessmen who came in from Germany. She found him housing in North Carolina and helped him find a house over there. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of soccer clubs don't have something like that, which they should. I think that's something they do now. But there's also the story of which kind of connects over to there's the story of Freddie Adu leaving behind a $300,000 Mercedes in Greece. He didn't, because he was done with Greece, so he left the next day. And his Mercedes is just in the parking lot. It's been there for months. And the club is like, is he going to pick this up? Or like,
what's going to happen?
Should we tow it?
Yeah, I know. It's like, it's those, the logistics are tough. Yeah, it's interesting.
I run these scenarios in my head. Like literally, if I was a soccer player, all I care about is efficiency. So if I moved clubs, I want to move like either within London or the Ruhrgebiet and like not move far away. Like I go from Dortmund to Cologne. I get a house like 20 minutes from each or something. So I don't have to unpack my IKEA, keep building IKEA furniture every 6 months, you know.
It's like that's why I guess the Schlotterbecks are happy, right? The Nico's in Dortmund, Kevin is in Bochum. That's
Well, they live in their
living.
parents' basement. They just live
I
in their
don't know.
parents'
I'm not
basement.
sure I'm not sure where they live, but I'm sure they get to hang out a little bit.
Yeah. Anywho,
Hans Wolf is telling us about he migrated. He switched to NYCFC back in 2018. It wasn't easy, but he's born and raised in Manhattan. All right, so that made it probably easier.
and he worked for WAPO for
he used
years.
to work
so cool.
for the Washington Post. Okay, back in the mid to late 90s when
before they were owned by Amazon.
When journalism was still a job that paid money.
Bjorn, democracy dies in darkness. Isn't that Washington Post or is that the New York Times?
Is that
I
their
think it's
slogan?
WAPO, which is dramatic but great. Washington Post is we're talking about the American soccer journalism, how slim pickings it is. Steve Goff from the Washington Post is one of the sort of bright light. He's such a great beat reporter. He's a great cover of DC United and the national team. He's one of those like guys like a Jonathan Tannenwald or a Steve Goff. Those are like the small list of guys I go to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That list is short. That's not a long
I mean,
list.
there's nobody like Grant Wall. That's definitely what you're saying is true. It's like there's nobody who is like a national kind of high profile person. And I guess it's not gonna, I mean, the way that the landscape is, there's not gonna be anybody. It's not like this is a job that's going to be filled by somebody else. He was on his own, he was doing his own thing. And
and like with the Athletic seemingly still amazing, but getting thinner and thinner, and the staff more cutbacks, and they were bought by the New York Times.
Now owned by the New York Times,
Times. And so the Athletic is sort of the best outlet I think we have, and that's for Stam Staceco leaving. Now that's looking slim picking. So again, we're here for you, Schnitzel boys. We're here for you. We got it. Speaking of hard-hitting journalism, you dangled a nugget in front of my face at the beginning of the podcast.
I did? What did I say?
The Reina thing.
Oh, yes. This was today. We finally got the details of, well, the report came out that we were promised. And I mean, it's not like it's well, there were certainly some details. I don't know how much you want to. I feel
I don't even know how that's done. Like, how do you do an investigation like that?
Well,
you just have to call 2 or 3 people from 40 years ago.
They interviewed all the. Well, I think they cast a pretty wide net. They were talking to, I think, things that they were a bunch of things that they said. I mean, the conclusion, if you want to start with that, they were saying that nothing prevents Greg Berhalter to be employed by U.S. Soccer. The conclusion was that this was an isolated incident that happened a long time ago. This is not some kind of pattern of behavior. This is a one-time thing that happened, was addressed at the time by everyone involved. They reported it to their respective coaches. Greg Berhalter went to counseling, and he did everything he could to make sure that this was not to communicate that this did not represent him as a person. The investigators found them very forthcoming. They didn't found any discrepancies between what they were saying and what people were what they then found out later. We got a little bit more detail about the incident itself, but then I think there were a lot of I think the most new details were really on the Reina side, and basically the revelation that this is a thing, like that Claudia Reina over the years has definitely been a very involved parent. I mean, we were talking about this weeks ago as like the soccer parent gone wild, and he was definitely that. He would complain. I mean, the thing that was kind of most
right at the youth level,
the U19s, he was saying, right. There's not enough. The travel isn't good enough. They should be flying business class. Like, he would have all these complaints. The one that's most kind of stuck out is that he was complaining about a female referee at one of Gio's games, and was saying, "Oh, you're not taking this seriously. This should have a male referee." as if that like somehow
Ah.
like a female referee is communicates a lack of seriousness or whatever. Like that was kind of the most headline grabbing quote where you're like, really, what are you talking about? And
Well,
so
I'm curious.
not a great look for the Reinas and yeah, it's just a shit show, the whole thing.
Yeah, and it's just, but hopefully this sort of ends it. The Bearhalter still eligible thing, that's very interesting. There's still a lot of holes over at U.S. Soccer. It seems, we don't know what's going on at Dortmund with Gio. They say he's doing well, but the reality is, if these are the kind of atomic soccer parents you grew up with, it can't be healthy for you psychologically. So I think
who knows? Who knows? I mean, he
right,
also we have to make a distinction between him and his parents. Like he can't be held responsible for what his parents are doing.
There's that video of all of them cheering being Iran, and he couldn't give two shits about it. He had his headphones on.
Well, I mean, there is more detail in the report also. It seemed like him kind of moping around during the World Cup. It seems like it was a thing. This was not like a small thing. Like for several days and sessions, he was kind of just not fully engaged to the point where a bunch of players called him out on it. So it's
hopefully,
but anyway, we
spirit.
need to it's time. It's what are you doing?
No, I'll ask. You said we need to what? I want to hear, because I got one or two things I want to bring up. But do you have something?
Well, I mean, I think Claudio Reyna should not have a job again in anything U.S. soccer related. I think that's one thing.
I agree.
I think it behaved very poorly.
So
I think Gio Reyna needs, I mean, he's got problems. He's not starting in Dortmund. He's got to figure it out, like on a career level. I don't think he should face any repercussions, certainly. It seems sort of hard to imagine. They keep saying like that Greg Berhalter is eligible and he could be the coach. It seems hard to imagine that happening.
Yeah, just make a decision already. So with U.S. soccer right now, we're seeing a lot of these random reports of people being offered jobs and turning it down, right? Peter Vermees turned down an interview, and just this week, the Nashville SC general manager turned down the general manager job at U.S. Soccer, apparently. And it's like, who? You hired too? And then I think the front runner right now is Aguchi Onyewu, who I think would be great, but like we talked about, shouldn't we get someone who didn't bunk with these guys in college? You know what I mean? Isn't that I thought the whole moral of this story is U.S. soccer is way too incestuous, which it is.
Yeah.
It's a big country, should be a bigger program.
Now you bring the gooch, it's the same. But I mean, they gotta, it's the same. Daniel Young wants to talk about NYCFC. We'll get to it. Hans Wolf is saying it's nutty how all this Greg Berhalter family issues were no one else's business affair but their own immediate family. Yeah, I had this discussion with somebody on Twitter today where people were like sort of giving takes on the details of the incident and it's like, if everything had gone as it should, we would not know about any of this.
Right.
This is like, it's a private situation.
This was
a long time ago. Everybody involved addressed it at the time. It seems like people have moved on. This is nobody's business. And it was only used for this insane kind of, I mean, it's not even, I don't even know what to call it, for like sports parenting gone wild.
Sorry, I was laughing at Hans's latest comment. Yeah, I mean, granted, I don't know. It's none of our business. It is pretty crazy. I've never kicked a woman before. I don't know how common that is.
Well,
we should get into that. But like, you're right.
I don't think we should. Yeah.
But like, anywho, Hans said, you're right. This is personal stuff. Professionally, it's unrelated. Ish, maybe 80% unrelated. Let's say. So like, it is crazy how this became this weird soap opera. crazier stuff has happened in plenty. Like in South America, crazier allegations have happened. But Huntsville
Well, I mean,
says
it's like
drama.
one thing. I think it's one thing. It's, I think people, I also don't want to be like holier than thou or anything like that. It's like, people like gossip, like whatever. I'm all good with that. But in this case, this is pretty nefarious. It's like somebody's trying to get somebody fired,
Right.
because they,
It's toxic.
because of their son, they didn't like how their son didn't get enough playing time or whatever. Like that's crazy. It's no good.
So that related to the fact where it's like, who's doing the hiring? It's the sportsology firm. Who's sportsology?
Well, I guess this is now the process, right? This is why we're in this holding pattern, because they're going to first get the sporting. They're not going to hire a coach before, so they're going to get the sporting director and the manager, and this is all going to happen this summer.
But then why was Peter Vermees talked to, if that's the case? This is how you would fix U.S. soccer. That's what we need to boil down to.
Okay, here we go.
I think approaching Oguchi Onyewu,
the Schnitzel boys will make all the hiring decisions from now on. We are from Germany. We don't have any personal. We don't know these people personally. We're objective.
Germany is the only country that has a sport director school and certification that you can go to.
Right.
And German sport directors are the best sport directors in the world because they don't have any money, but they have to make sure the league is as competitive as England. So they pull it off.
Lutz Pfannenstiel 3-0. 3-0.
Ernst Tanner, Jochen Schneider up in Vancouver. Maybe he's not
German.
Amazing.
Is Ernst Tanner German? Isn't he?
Austrian?
Yeah. Is he? Okay.
Is he Austrian? Right. He is. I know he was interviewed on CTF about U.S. soccer and the whole thing.
Listen,
trouble. Ernst Tanner is from. Ernst Tanner was born in. Ernst Tanner. Is this a different Ernst Tanner? Yeah, I have a totally different Wikipedia article. I have a Wikipedia article of an old.
Well, anyway, it doesn't matter for it's not matter. Details.
Hire a soccer guy like Ernie Stewart. Ernie Stewart was good for the job, except he was too incestuous. So that's why you bring in an Ernst Tanner. He knows the U.S. soccer system. He's good to operate on a budget, but he did not bunkmate with any of the players' parents in college. He's an outsider. He's from outside that system.
But Oguchi Onyewu is a little bit of a different generation too, right? He's a little younger.
True. But what's to say that's not the behavior? Is you're all bros, What's to say that Josh Wolf isn't going to call Oguchi Onyewu? Well, you need to treat Owen Wolf better.
But I mean, you
still owe me because that one time you brought that girl home, I didn't tell the coach in 2006. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need to get rid of that. So you do that by diversifying your office. Ernst Tanner doesn't know. You know what I'm saying? He's a soccer guy, but he's not from their days. So he's a professional stranger and a professional that can stay professional. And that's the key. And then after that is appointed, hire yourself a coach. It can be whoever. It can be an MLS guy. Can be, I think on the board someone said Brendan Rodgers. Some random EPL coach if you want. I'm not against that
Rodgers.
Either. It's just some name
of all people. Okay.
Well, speaking of coaches,
I got another thing. I have to figure this out here with Hans. Bearhalter means bear stopper. I thought it was was bear keeper. Maybe isn't it Bearhalter? Isn't that a bear keeper?
Well, BER that's not bear. Is that bear?
It's not really. No, Bearhalter is all right.
Bear German is spelled the same as in English, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not bear. It's not BER. It's not bear. I think maybe. And Halter is a keeper more. Anyway, we're going to get to the bottom of this. We're going to figure out what Bearhalter. I wouldn't have translated it. Anyway, Daniel Young is saying that Thales Magno needs to play winger. I think that's probably true. Would Pellegrini put Pellegrini in as a false nine? I don't know. Pellegrini had a good game against Inter Miami. I don't see him as a striker necessarily. I think we're going to get a 9 eventually. I think there will be somebody coming. We're going to get a signing, and Thales is going to struggle until then. He had some moments. He's learning it. I mean, Tati took a long time also in that position, so we got to be patient. But I do agree. It's not it's not looking great. Although having Santi Rodriguez in midfield is beautiful. The Santi Rodriguez, Keaton Parks, James Sands midfield is up there among MLS midfields. I don't know that I couldn't tell you a team's midfield that I would trade with those three. That's a pretty good lineup.
LAFC. Who's going to stop the freight train of LAFC? That's the big question. My New England Revolution prediction's looking very poor. They have not had a great start to the season. And LAFC, that freight train just keeps on running.
Yeah, they're looking good. That's true.
Who's going to stop LAFC this year? I think that's the big talk.
We're going to beat them in the final.
Aaron Long had some interesting comments. Not surprising. But he talked about the difference of being on LAFC versus the New York Red Bulls. He's like, LAFC, everyone here is a professional. They kind of know what they're doing. You know, I'm paraphrasing. He wasn't that direct. But, you know, the New York Red Bulls is like a development club. Some younger players getting their feet wet and shit and stuff.
Okay.
Whereas LAFC, they're all formed like, you know, it's Giorgio Chiellini and it's, you know, it's Carlos Vela and it's Kellen Acosta and it's, you know, everybody on that team is a grizzled vet, and the soccer IQ on average is probably higher, you know. So he was just mentioning it's just a different atmosphere. And it's like, yeah, LAFC is deep as heck. They are quite the deep little team. They are going to go far this year. I think maybe they want to win CONCACAF Champions League, which they missed out on so close during the COVID tournament. And, you know, they're the team to beat. Who's going to beat LAFC?
Yeah, nobody in the West, it seems like. I don't know.
Not the Galaxy.
I was very high. I mean, you were wrong with my predictions are traditionally wrong anyway, but I was very high on the Galaxy. That doesn't seem to.
They're like the U.S. soccer. They need to figure out their FO first. If your FO, there's a great statement where I think it's an American sort of phrase in sports. Teams don't win championships, organizations win championships. And that's true. Like a really well-oiled machine wins MLS Cup, you know, and it starts at the FO. It's not just the players or the coach. It starts at the FO, I think a well-rounded organization is all that's going to do it. So with the Galaxy, they need to get their house in order first. Right. No, Hans Wolf, well, I read it too quickly, perhaps, with the Bearhalter. We hope you're right.
I love it. Bearstopper sounds great. I'm not
Greg Bearstopper,
not criticizing, but
Bastian Pigstacker and Greg Bearstopper. How was that podcast? Yeah. But next week I will do a deep dive into the surname roots of Bearhalter and try to really see.
Yeah, I think I'm interested now too. This had not occurred to me.
My real last name, which we don't talk about much, but real last name is Schutte, which I googled comes from Schütze, which is a guardsman.
Oh, okay.
So this is one interpretation of it. I'm not 100% certain if this is true. This is just according to some genealogical site I saw. And that if you were to translate it to American, because Germans during the wars here in the United States anglicized their names. A lot of Mullers became Millers and so forth. My anglicized name would be Archer, Steve Archer. Stefan Schutte is German for Stephen Archer, I think. And that sounds like a cool name, Steve Archer. Yeah. I'll take that last name.
Totally.
Michelle Archer. What's Bellenbaum? What's that?
It doesn't really it's a nice
tree.
Doesn't really mean anything.
Tree. I'm sure it does.
I have yet to hear anything coherent about what my name means.
Wow.
All right.
Crabtree would be your
Crabtree.
Archer.
CCL is tomorrow. More MLS this weekend. We didn't talk about Apple this week. That's probably good. There was some.
I like it. It's still good.
Blue City. The Ian Joy and Joe Tawson were on Blue City Radio on last week, and we got a little bit of insight. It seemed like they wanted Ian and they did not want Joe. And Ian didn't really want to do it. Perhaps.
Why do you not want Joe? That's so weird to me. I like Joe. I think I like it
He
better
was
than you.
he was speculating that they were just going for a younger set, maybe, and like just different people in this. But
That's what I mentioned.
He wasn't. I think they approached everyone, but I don't think he got he wasn't offered anything. And then Ian Joy was offered something, but decided not to take it. Whether it was, I mean, he works for CBS, and so he has other irons in the fire. Maybe they weren't paying him enough, or maybe he also said he wasn't all that interested in calling. I mean, Ian Joy was very much NYCFC, and both of them really. Ian Joy specifically was always very much didn't even give any kind of appearance of neutrality. He was like always a complete NYCFC stan and fan. And so he was saying like he didn't have a ton of interest in necessarily calling other teams' games.
Right.
And certainly not with somebody other than Joe. And so he turned them down.
There's still there's that. I think Apple TV overall is doing a pretty good job, but there's still that awkwardness. I think in this Sporting Kansas City game, their play-by-play guy Nate Butaki, who was the Sporting Kansas City radio voice in the old days, was doing the Sporting Kansas City game, and then when Sporting Kansas City had a corner, he said "corner to us" or something. And the fans of the opposing team, which I think was Colorado, maybe this week they play, I forgot. And essentially, it's like, hold on, he's supposed to be neutral now. I'm sure he knows that he just did a little bit of a mistake. But which brings to a point: why are they doing that? Why is Max Brados doing LAFC? Why is Nate Butaki doing Sporting?
Right.
Like, if I'm Apple executive, shouldn't I break that up? Shouldn't I make sure? You know what I'm saying? Should the method be send them to the teams I know, or should the method be break that and send them all to other teams? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I totally know what you're saying. I mean, it's just a bland. I mean, certainly from an NYCFC's perspective, this was the first time that you could listen to I was at the game, so I didn't really watch the broadcast. But Glenn, you could listen to Glenn Crooks for alternate audio. That's a little bit of but that's only going to be for home games, so I'll never get to do that because I'm going to be at the stadium. But yeah, we had Kalen Carr, and who was the other person? It's just a little bit more generic, you know, like they're just not super.
Callum Williams, right? Who I liked. I think I like Callum.
Yeah,
they're
Williams, just not. People just aren't. I didn't rewatch. I just watched the highlights. So I don't like. I can't really speak to how.
But my theory is, which I think you're mentioning the Joe Tolson reference. They got rid of all the old timers and just hired all the younger guys, and I think they're offering them probably. You know, I don't know what salary they're being offered, but I think they're trying to keep it cheap a little bit. So.
This is what you were saying. Yeah, this is what you were saying last week. I don't know.
Well, no Joe, no JP, no Joe Tatino, no. You know, there's a lot of vets, a lot older.
It seems like Joe and Ian are going to do things for the club. They're going to find other ways to stay involved. All right, Hans Wolf is saying good night, which we should do as well. 1 hour 8. Come on.
Yeah, we're trying to keep our shows to 45 minutes. Sorry. We're
terrible at that.
We're terrible at that. We'll try to be better moving forward. We're trying to keep it under an hour. So good night, everybody. Cheers. Thank you, Hans and Daniel, for joining us on the chat. And for those of you out there listening, we're live Monday nights. We love to talk to you. We're fans. You're fans. Let's fan out. Let's stand these leagues we love, MLS and Bundesliga.
Come say hi at Yankee Stadium. You can find
Come say hi at Yankee Stadium. If you live in LA, come say hi. I'll be at some Galaxy, some LAFC games at some point. All right. Cheers, everyone. Goodbye. Until next week.
Bye-bye.